we have to be able to distinguish between what we're fueling ourselves with and understand, is it something that is creating forward progress for me, or is it something that is literally destroying me? And when we're able to make those distinctions, we can fuel ourselves properly so that our progress in life is all about what's ahead of us. We cannot control what happened behind us. However, what the best aspects of life are right here and right now, and then everything beyond that and where we're able to go.
It's important for us to unlearn any unhealthy patterns that we may have picked up growing up. I mean, how much happier we would be if that's something we remembered.
You need an activator. What's going to activate my rise in life? So what am I nourishing myself with that's causing the activation so that I can continue to become and evolve into who God created me to be?
Hello and welcome. I'm Seline Shenoy, and this is the Dreamcatcher Podcast, a space for thoughtful, unhurried conversations about how we live and what truly matters. I am really glad you're here. Today's guest is Tommi A. Vincent, also known as Chef Tommi V, a culinary storyteller, wellness advocate, and the author of the beautiful book, The Table of Life. Tommi is known for the way she blends food, faith, and family legacy into something far deeper than recipes, creating spaces where people feel held, nourished, and reminded of what truly matters. In The Table of Life, she shares personal stories and soulful lessons on resilience, healing, and how the rituals of the table can become a way back to yourself, especially through life's most difficult seasons. If you ever felt like you're rebuilding from the inside out, or craving a life that feels warmer, steadier, and more whole, I think you'll feel deeply seen in this episode. Tommi, I'm so glad to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here today.
Well, we're just grateful to have you on the show. So I just finished reading your book, The Table of Life, and the metaphor of the table instantly spoke to me because it seems like a table is really symbolic of all kinds of emotions. You know, you talk about it in the book. It's symbolic of stories, faith, conflict, comfort, and you did such a great job at showing how it can really nourish our spirits as much as our bodies. And I also love how each recipe in your book comes with wisdom and life lessons based on your own personal journey. So I'm really looking forward to exploring the wisdom behind that and also your own story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the table of life for me was an endeavor where, as I progressed through the writing, I quickly realized that this was for me. You write a book and you're thinking about the reader and how they'll receive the information that you're giving. And that's still true with the table of life. But the larger aspect of it was that I had an opportunity to write about aspects of my life and see how I was able to progress through that journey and how I was able to overcome. And so by the end of the book, and even throughout the book, like tears were literally dropping on my keyboard. And when I was finished, I was like, wow, you are phenomenal. And so at that moment is when I knew that it was a journey that God was taking me on so that I could truly see what I was able to overcome and how strong I am in his creation.
Sounds like it was very cathartic for you to pen your story.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I do want to dig into it, and I want our audiences to get to know you better. So, Tommi, for those who don't know much about you, can you please share some of those key experiences that shaped your journey and led you to writing The Table of Life?
There are three core stories in the book where I talk about one, my experience of having my daughter at 12 years old. And then the second is when I was in an abusive relationship that culminated with the abuser picking me up to throw me off of a bridge. And then the third one was my bout of depression. And all of those stories are key ingredients to who I am today. Now, when I was in those situations, I did not look at it from that perspective. But the lesson I got as I journeyed through was we have to be able to look at situations and identify the light. So often we're often looking for the darkness, like the hardship of it. And we're not walking away with the best aspects from it from a difficult situation. But when I look back at 12-year-old Tommi, who had a baby at 12 years old, there was a resilience that was built in me that nothing else in life would have ever gifted me. And so as I navigate challenging times now, that's who gets to show up, that resiliency that all was birthed at 12 years old for me.
Hmm. How did you find the strength in those moments to keep going on? What was it that pushed you to go forward? I'm sure there were a lot of complex emotions that were running through, especially at 12 years old, where you're still young. Like, how
Mhm.
were you able to hold it all together?
At 12 years old, I will say that I was not thinking about life that deep. I was just surviving. And so for me, there wasn't anything in my life where I was like, I don't want to live. It was like, I need to live and I got to do what I have to do in order for me to live. I do know when I was in labor, and I talk about this in the book, I kept saying, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And my mom, who was in the labor and delivery room with me, it was like this look came in her eyes, and she looked at me and she smacked me across the face. And she said, you are going to make it, and you are going to, she started like it was her strength that gave me strength in that moment, where the give up was I didn't think physically I could do this anymore. I couldn't push and birth the baby that was inside of me. And I have found myself time and time again in moments in life where I need to birth something. And that moment at 12 years old is a reminder, no, you can make it and you will make it because you've done it before. You've done hard things and you can do hard things today.
Mm, thank you for sharing that. And that is such a powerful metaphor of birthing and being
Mhm.
able to birth something that you feel you're probably not able to. You feel like you're somehow unable to do so, but then having that courage to just push anyway, literally in your
Yes.
case, and having someone by your side to hold your hand and say, hey, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
great.
we need people in our life who are willing to walk alongside of us and even oftentimes pull us forward.
Hmm.
Like usher us into the next so that we can evolve and we can continue to become. And my mom served that moment for me in my life, but there were so many people along my journey. I've had teachers, I've had coaches. My husband is someone that I consider my person. He saw me before I saw myself. And so relationships with other people are critical. And so it's important for us to choose them wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do talk about how the importance of love and kind of protecting our hearts. And you did mention that you were in an abusive relationship. And you speak about love that heals instead of harms.
Mhm.
What does healthy love look like for you now? What are the patterns that you had to unlearn to finally accept the kind of love that really nourishes you and puts you in a place of strength?
Today, the love that nourishes me and allows for me to be who I am. And there's multiple relationships wherein I have a husband, I have children, I have friends, I have sisters. And the relationships where love abounds for me is where people receive me as I am, where I don't have to figure out or morph into what they need from me in that moment, but that I can show up as me, whatever me is in that moment, and I can just be. Where we can have conversations that are fruitful, that may even consist of conflict. Conflict is not a bad thing because conflict means that when you're in a relationship that there's something that needs to be corrected so that you're able to continue to move forward in that relationship in a healthy way. But how do we address conflict? Are we talking about it? Are we not talking about it? And are we shutting down and shutting each other out? So what my husband and I talk about is fighting fair. The willingness to pull back your sleeves, to have the hard conversations, to create space for one another and not work to be right, but work to be effective in the relationship. So I think that there are several ingredients that will lead you to a healthy relationship, but it's difficult to recognize and understand that if for a long time you've been experiencing love in ways that is not healthy,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't recognize that. I was in an abusive relationship, but I had also grown up where I witnessed other abusive relationships. And for me, that translated as love. So when I was in my abusive relationship, this was love. And so I had to unlearn and recognize that real love does not hurt intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so key. And is that the difference between love that makes us grow and love that makes us shrink? Just knowing that the person you're with can fight fair and is able to bring out the best in you, even in the midst of disagreements and conflicts.
I would say absolutely yes. I mean, just
Mhm.
think about that growing versus shrinking.
Yeah.
Like, shrinking is reducing yourself,
Hmm.
minimizing who you are, where growing is that moment is adding value to you.
Hmm.
Shrinking is subtracting. Relationships that are healthy, it's about multiplication, not even just addition, multiplication. We're going to take whatever we're experiencing and it's going to 10x our relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that is really key, and it's important for us to unlearn any unhealthy patterns that we may have picked up growing up. And yeah, I mean, how much happier we would be if that's something we remembered. And you also talk about the importance of faith, and faith really flows through your book like a quiet strength. Tell me about your relationship with faith and how it evolved over time. And also, how did you keep it grounded and
Mhm.
prevent it from becoming like performance based and guilt based?
So the very first time that I believe I recognized before anyone even told me
Mhm.
that God was real for me was when I
Mhm.
was a little girl.
Yeah.
And I was in my closet sitting on the floor crying because I couldn't find my shoe. And I cried out, Lord, help me find my shoe. I
Mhm.
where that I, like that just it was in me. My mom wasn't going to allow us to go to an amusement park. And she said, we're not going if Tommi can't find her shoe. So I felt disappointment, like I'm disappointing my siblings, like all these things. And I felt very desperate. And then as I progressed through life, it wasn't that I had a relationship with, the Lord. It was that there were these moments, like an example, when I was on that bridge and the boy picked me up to throw me off, and what was beneath me was concrete and glass.
Oh my
He
gosh.
hoisted me up in the air, and I literally saw like my life. And at this time, I'm 16.
Oh
I
my
see
God.
my life flashing before my eyes, and I say, God, if you get me, this is me having an internal conversation. If you get me down from this, I will serve you for the rest of my life. And it was like all of a sudden I had words to negotiate my way down. And when he put me down, I walked away from that situation and I didn't look back. And then there were these just moments along the way. It was like I was following these breadcrumbs
Mm-hmm.
to get to the place where I developed my own relationship with the Lord. And it's not that I don't have moments where I'm wavering, right? Like faith is always tested, but I'm anchored. So
Yeah.
even when I get too far out, I can't I'm not going to go out and not be able to come back because I'm anchored and I'm drawn back to my relationship. And I have so many moments where I remember and I think to myself, if he did it before, he could do it again.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about relationship. And we're talking about healthy relationships and why would our faith be a relationship of one where it's not what's the word that you use, like we're not, it's
Um,
not performance
Guilt
based, it's
based
not,
or yeah,
yeah, it's not guilt based,
coming from your heart. It's coming from
it's
your
sincere,
spirit.
right? If it's guilt based, is that a healthy relationship?
Not at all.
No,
Yeah,
because if you're in an abusive relationship, it's about power and control. It's
absolutely.
about the need, to feel like in order for you to stay, I have to manipulate you. And
Yeah.
guilt is an internal manipulation for ourselves where we're like, I have to stay. We have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I choose to believe. I choose to hold on to my faith because if I believe, then there's always going to be a better outcome.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That experience of being thrown over the bridge, that must have been so traumatic for you. I can't even imagine what that would have been like and how you were in that moment able to really hold on to your faith and have that connection with God. It really speaks to the importance of having self-belief and also having faith in a
Mhm.
higher power. What are some of the spiritual practices that you have today that keep you going?
So I'm very intentional about taking time in quiet where I get an opportunity to sit down and I have my notebook, I have my Bible,
Mm,
and I am reading the scriptures and I am looking at it not like reading a book. I look at it like reading, how does this apply to me? And then I wait to get revelation and I write in my notebook and I tie it to my life. I tie it to my experiences. And I'll sit and I will meditate on gratitude. And I am very committed to that time. So it's a daily practice for me. And then I also, one of my favorite things, and this was what I did as I was going through therapy and working my way through depression, I consider my kitchen to be my sanctuary. And
mm-hmm.
so I get into the kitchen and I turn on my gospel music and I listen to the psalmist singing, their praises and singing about Jesus Christ. And for me, it like that music starts to flow through me and then it flows through
Mm,
my hands and it flows through the food I'm cooking. And I
mm,
call it soul food therapy. I'm
yeah.
in my kitchen and I'm cooking the food that is, I believe, that God has gifted me to nourish mind, body, and souls.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're going to get into food and the table metaphor itself, but I just want to touch back on the your spiritual practice, which is really beautiful. What would you say to someone who feels like they're behind in their healing journey and that they really
Mm.
need to find that sense of faith within themselves or a soft place to land whenever life gets difficult? What would
Mhm.
you say to them?
I would say that you're not behind. My journey, this didn't start in my 20s, and I was 40. I'm 52, where I was my healing journey, my relationship with the Lord, it was earlier on in life, but
Hmm.
where I really felt like I was Tommi, I was 40, and it was right on time for where I am today, and the way that doors are opening for me, and
Hmm.
the people that I am able to have influence over. I'm ready for that today. I was not ready for that in my 20s. I was not ready for that in my 30s. So you're not behind. You just need to start. And then you keep putting one foot in front of the other. You'll be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And that if we sit in the place like I'm behind, now we're condemning ourselves. And we're back into what I call in the book firsthand abuse. It was one thing when I was in an abusive relationship and that person was my abuser.
Hmm.
But firsthand abuse is when you do it to yourself.
Yeah.
I can't control what other people do, but I have full authority and control over what I do to myself. And so living with guilt is you're being abusive to yourself. And like unearthing that and figuring out what is this about will allow for you to get to the core matter of why you feel the way you feel. And then when you see it, you change it.
Yeah. Powerful message. I'm sure that will really land with someone out there. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the upcoming launch of my new book titled The Nomadic Soul, a seeker's guide to finding a sense of self and belonging in the modern world, which highlights a profound yet often unexplored part of your identity that holds the key to everything from answering your biggest questions to finding deeper meaning and joy in everyday life. Visit thenomadicsoulbook.com to learn more, download a free chapter, or to buy a copy. Tommi, so the heart of your book is all about the table and all the delicious recipes that you have in the book. But I want to talk about the table and the symbolism behind it. You position it as a really sacred space of healing and a communal sort of place. What does the table symbolize to you in your life right now?
Mhm. So the table of life for me today is more than I could have ever imagined, right? So the premise of the book is to teach people how to build their own table, one dish at a time, using all of the ingredients of their life. Where I am today, I feel like I've built my table and it's loaded with dishes full of the ingredients of my life. Where there were many years where the food that was on my table did not taste good to me, but I had not included all of the ingredients of my life. I thought I had to tuck and hide aspects of my life because then that would prevent me from being invited to sit at someone else's table.
Mhm.
When I came into my own, recognizing who I was, my value, and my worth, I realized I don't need to chase someone else's table. I can really take the time and build my own. And I've done that. And so now I'm in the phase of my life where my table is set. And I have been inviting women from all over to take a seat at my table to get nourishment so that then they are empowered to go forward and to build their own tables using all of the ingredients from their life, to have that courage to recognize, no, every aspect of who you are belongs in your dishes, and the people that should be sitting with you, that they will be fully nourished by the ingredients that are in your dishes.
Okay. And how do you teach these women to create their own table at home?
So I have many ways that I'm doing that. I have the Table of Life retreat that I've been doing now for 12 years, where women come from all over and um, we have an opportunity to engage in life where it's not just about hard stuff. It's also about recognizing that you're worthy of joy too.
Mm. Yep.
And so we spend time doing that. And then I have the Table of Life workshops and the Table of Life dinners. The
Okay.
dinners are intimate gatherings with women. And when I say intimate, it is 10 to 20 women. And we're sitting down, and I chef for everyone. And we sit down and we talk. And we talk about life. And the women, if you were at the table and we closed our eyes and we were just listening to what was being said,
Hmm.
we're like, oh, I can relate to that. Oh, I had that experience. And the women at the table may not look like you, they may not come from where you come from, but there is an experience that women have that just is unmatched,
Yeah.
but it's so relatable to other women. And we have we're moving through life creating these like cliques. Like we're in high school,
Right.
creating cliques, and
Yeah.
you don't belong in my clique. You're not good enough for my clique. Where if we just stopped and said, no, she's like me, we're able to really go so much further. We're able to glean from each other's bought sense because we've already paid the price. And life doesn't have to be as hard. The lessons don't have to be as challenging because we can glean from wisdom from other people. And so for me, it is all about not me telling people what to do, but giving women the opportunity to recognize that everything she needs, it's in her already.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out how to bring it up and bring
Yeah.
it out so it's actualized in their life.
Beautiful. And you're providing such a beautiful container for them to do that.
Hmm.
And you're just listening to you describe it, just the conversations and the sharing that happens at these tables. It's just making me feel a sense of warmth because I feel like this is what's lacking in our society. There is a
Hmm.
loneliness epidemic, as you know. People can't really find real friends. And we need spaces like this where we can share and where we're not having that click like mentality, where we're open to sharing and connecting with all types of people and finding that commonality that can heal us and also that can
Yes.
make us more human.
Mm, absolutely. And, Celine, if we're not intentional about doing that now, especially in this day and age, we won't get it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Everything right now is designed to have less human interaction. And we can either choose to just keep running down that road, or we can be very intentional about our human engagement with other people. And gathering at the table, to me, I've witnessed it growing up of how powerful it is, even when life is hard. So there's
Mm.
something about sitting at the table, and food is a universal language.
Yes, it is.
Everyone eats, and everyone there, most people, if not all, they have traditions of dishes that mean something to them, a food memory that they have that can generate, to like you talked about, warmth and comfort. That is something that can happen at the table. And so when I'm cooking the food, I'm not thinking about, you know, calories and, thinking about the things that will cause us to go into even more condemnation. I'm thinking about food that feels like comfort and tastes like home. What
Yeah.
is the food that someone will sit down with me at this table and they're going to feel like they're getting a big hug, like the big hug I used to get from my Nana Edie?
Mm. Yeah, people are so emotional about food and it can be so tied to their identity. I've noticed that as, I've met people who can't eat anything but the food that they grew up with. Like I've met
Hmm.
them and that they don't want to try anything different because it's like they're so tethered to the memory behind the foods that they ate at
Hmm.
home, like the pie that their grandma made when they were a kid or a sandwich that their mom used to make in the kitchen. So it's like you do talk about food as memory and identity. And I'd love for us to get into that a little bit, like how we can use food to reconnect with ourselves rather than numb out.
Hmm. So I mentioned to you that when I was going through therapy, part of that healing for me was getting in the kitchen at what I
Mm.
call soul food therapy.
Yeah.
And what was happening in therapy as I was talking through things and where I was and just
Mhm.
figuring out what was happening with me, I kept having visions of my Nana Edie's kitchen.
Hmm.
And she lived on the corner in Eggers Crossing in Lawrence, New Jersey. And so there was traffic coming this way, going, one way and then coming the other way. And everyone stopped off at Nana Edie's house, whether it was on their way to work or it was on their way home.
Hmm.
And she always had food. And it didn't matter how many people came by, there was always food to feed people who came. And so I saw how powerful food was, the ability to feed people. Like, so when you're weary and you're tired and you're exhausted coming from work, or you're dreading the day because you have to go into work, that moment in Nana Edie's kitchen, they laughed and they smiled, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I recognized there's something to that, that when you are able to nourish someone and the nourishment comes from your ingredient of love, right? There's physical ingredients that go into food, but the person that is preparing the food has an opportunity to make the greatest deposit, the greatest ingredient, and that is their love. And
Yeah.
so when food is prepared by someone who is looking to give, you can feel that. You can feel when, like, it just, the food feels like this is beyond, you
Yeah.
know,
That's so
whatever the
interesting.
dish is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so
Because
it's
they
just like,
infuse their energy into the food, so it tastes different. Yeah, because I'm just like remembering my grandma, like she was feeding me rice and lentil, in her village, and I was like, it felt me with so much joy as she was feeding
mm-hmm,
me, and I was just like, why does that taste different? It was so simple. It was just rice and lentil cooked in the most basic way, but it just felt so special. And like as you're talking about it, it just that memory flashed in my mind.
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
you felt and experienced her love. You know
Yeah.
how special that is for your grandmom to nourish you?
Yeah, it seemed like a big deal. Yeah.
And so that's when people have an opportunity to experience that in the food at the table. It's transformative.
Yeah.
It is transformative. And it also is like, so with my family, I call our ability to get to the table, it's our opportunity to conduct a pulse check,
Yeah.
because you don't know if someone needs resuscitation. But
Sure.
when we're in front of each other, we
Hmm.
can see each other's faces, expressions, and we have an ability to say, all right, let's talk about it.
Hmm.
Masks come off, people drop their defenses, and you're able to really go deeper instead of the surface level that we present when we're outside of our homes, in our workplaces, in our schools, and whatever we're doing when we're interfacing with other people. We can be safe and we can be vulnerable.
Mm. Yeah. And we're living in a time where people are eating on the go or they're eating behind their laptop, their computer. And I think
Mm-hmm.
uh, they miss out on the communal nature of a meal, which is something that our ancestors, our grandparents were able to relish. And you're reminding us of the importance of kind of bringing back that practice.
Mm-hmm. Do you cook at all? Like, so you talked about your grandmother with the rice and the lentils.
Yeah.
Like, is that a dish that you make today?
No, no. Um, but I'm a decent cook, but I'm not really good with making rice and lentil, but I'm good at making smoothies. Yeah.
Because
You
I
caught me
think
off
about,
guard.
oh, no worries. Listen, because I think of recipes as heirlooms. You know,
Okay.
people talk about leaving a heritage for
Right.
the generations to
Yeah, yeah,
come.
yeah,
When we keep moving recipes forward
yeah.
and we put them on the table of the generations, they're getting the opportunity to meet their ancestors at the table. They're experiencing them through the dishes and the food that we prepare.
So
So
true.
I believe that
Yeah.
recipes are, for me, it's the greatest heirloom I can give to my children, to my grandchildren, because they can always find me there. They can
Mm.
find me on their table when they prepare those recipes, even when I'm no longer here.
Yeah. So it's like that family legacy continues
Yes.
through the recipes that were cherished
Yes.
by relatives. Yeah, that's a really important point that you make there. And Tommy, how do you want people to redefine nourishment after reading your book? Because we did touch on it several times. How would you like people to kind of frame that in their life and help them approach self-care from a different
Hmm.
perspective?
To me, nourishment is fuel. And so there are times when, so like an example, fire is fuel.
Hmm.
Fire can also be a destroyer,
Yeah.
right? So it can burn things up or it can create a fuel that allows something to go. And so we have to be able to distinguish between what we're fueling ourselves with and understand, is it something that is creating forward progress for me, or is it something that is literally destroying me? And when we're able to make those distinctions, we can fuel ourselves properly so that our progress in life is all about what's ahead of us. We cannot control what happened behind
Mm.
us.
Yeah.
We can learn from it. However, what the best aspects of life are right here and right now, and then everything beyond that and where we're able to go. So when people read the book, I hope that they can see that nourishment is so powerful for you,
Hmm.
but you have to choose the proper nourishment so
Yeah.
that it is fueling you to go forward and it is allowing you to evolve and become exactly who you've been created to be. And someone might say, well, I don't know who I am and I don't know what that even means. Well, the key is you keep moving forward. And as you move forward, your life will open up and evolve and you will become like the next thing you know, you are. It's not you have to do something. You already are. There's a teacher, a principal that I'm working with on some work, and she was talking about her students. And she said, I never ask my children what they want to be because they already are.
Mm.
I ask them what they would like to do, but not what they would like to be. And so that stuck with me because
Interesting.
I already am. I already am. And so being who I am is critical to me doing what I do. And so that is all in front of me, utilizing all of the ingredients from my past so
Mhm.
that I can continue to be who I've been created to be.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you say is that we already have the ingredients within us, and we just
I
need to
believe
find
that.
a way to kind of get that out of us, to express that part of us.
That's what I believe. I truly believe that. I believe that when we were created, when God created us, that everything we needed was already in us. And then there's like, if you're baking a cake and you use baking powder to give it a rise, it's like
Mm.
you need an activator. What's going
Um,
to activate my rise in life? So what am I nourishing myself with that's causing the activation so that I can continue to become and
become.
evolve into who God created me to be?
Mm. I'm having so many breakthroughs. Because really, this is such a unique way of presenting both your story and just the ups and downs of the human journey. I mean, I really encourage our listeners and viewers to get a copy of Tommi's book, The Table of Life, Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. I mean, it's so heartfelt and grounding. But before we close, Tommi, I have one more question for you. And I do want to bring this back to the listener who may be sitting at home or wherever else they are. If they feel disconnected from themselves right now, what is one simple ritual at the table that they can start?
So I believe a ritual that they can do is to sit down with themselves and reflect on one thing that they're grateful for.
Yeah.
One thing. It could be that you're breathing. It could be that you're sitting in a chair and someone else isn't. So gratitude, I believe, is the key for snapping us out of sometimes the pit of despair, where we're really feeling like, what is this all about? There's something that everyone can be grateful for.
Absolutely. And gratitude is so potent. It can just open doors like nothing else
Mm-hmm.
can, really.
Mm-hmm.
Tommi, thank you for sharing your powerful story with us so openly. Your courage, your resilience, and your nourishing spirit has really touched me, and I'm sure it's touched everyone else who's listening. I'm grateful for you, for the presence and the authenticity that you brought to this conversation.
Thank you. I really value and appreciate you having me here today. Thank you for letting me come to your table.
Oh yeah. Thank you for joining us. And I just want to I just want to let our listeners quickly know the title of your book is The Table of Life, Nourishing the Soul with Food, Love, and Faith. And it's available wherever books are sold and on her website, tommiv.com. The link will be in the description.